Across every religion in the world are countless terrifying demons, each with their own specific way to torture you. And while they might be interesting to learn about in theory, you can bet that I never want to come face to face with one in my lifetime. Welcome back, most amazing crew. I am your host Kennedy, and today we are diving deep into world religions and counting down some of the most frightening demons that could ever be summoned. So grab whatever demon deterrent you prefer and get ready, because this is the top 10 demons you should never ask Alexa about. Starting us off at number 10 is Agares. Believed to be the demon who causes and controls earthquakes in Christian theology, Agares is considered to be a Duke of Hell with over 30 legions of demons under his command, and the control of the entire eastern side of Hell. I mean, he just doesn't seem like someone you'd want to mess with. Now, all that being said, he does have one of the strangest appearances ever described. Apparently, he appears as an old man riding on the back of a crocodile, carrying a hawk on his fist, which is incredibly specific and equally unsettling. Like, can the crocodile attack you? Or is that part just for show? I mean, honestly, either way, if I saw a demon ride in on the back of a giant crocodile, I would not be looking forward to what came next. Plus, remember, he can also cause earthquakes, so even if you aren't cursed or mauled by his crocodile sidekick, he could probably just kill you by starting an earthquake that sent you straight to hell. Next up at number 9, Rakshasas. With the origins from Hindu mythology, Rakshasas are a terrifying breed of shape-shifting demons with the ability to reveal themselves to you in almost any way they choose. Although their true form is usually described as large and beast-like, if they so choose, they can appear as animals, as monsters, or even in the form of beautiful women if they really want to throw you off. In fact, one of the most famous of the demons, Putana, is well known for her attempt to kill the little Krishna by offering him milk from her poisoned breast. They also are known to prey predominantly at night, waiting until the sun goes down to come out of the shadows in the cemeteries they rest in, before feasting on the flesh of anyone they can find. Strangely, another sign they are near is they will suck all the cows dry of their milk. Now, the sort of good news is that apparently not all Rakshasas are created equally. Some are more evil than others, but still, I wouldn't try my chances, cause generally speaking, they're all pretty bad. Next up at number 8, the Jikininki. If Japanese folklore has taught me anything, it's that there is no shortage of terrifying creatures within Japanese culture, and apparently the same goes for their demons. The Jikininki are said to be the spirits of evil people who have since died, and like many other demons, have a strong taste for the flesh and blood of humans. However, unlike some of the others on this list, the Jikininki prefer the taste of corpses, so they tend to hide in cemeteries, only revealing themselves when they think that no one else is around. But I have to say, the most interesting and strange thing about these demons is that unlike others of their realm, they apparently seem to hate themselves for their flesh-hungry tendencies. And not only do they have a deep-seated self-loathing streak, they hate all of their kind as well. Said to be able to alternate between the physical form of a normal human and their disgusting flesh-devouring demon side, there is no clear description of what they're supposed to look like, only that it's supposed to be indescribably terrifying. Now, the sort of good news about the Jikininki is that they will only eat the dead, so you are safe from being attacked by one. However, many believe that even witnessing one of these demons in their evil form can cause you to die on the spot out of sheer fear, so you still can't really win. Next up at number 7, Asag. With origins dating back to the ancient Sumerian civilization during the Mesopotamia era, Asag is one freaky demon you do not want to get to know. First off, it's said he appears so horrendous that his presence alone has the capability to boil fish alive in their own river. I'll be honest, I don't totally get how that connects, but still, it would be wildly horrifying to watch a river boil and see all the fish rise to the surface, so I won't question it. The next horrible thing about this giant, three-legged, three-armed, necklace, multiple-eyed creature is that he's accompanied by an entire army of rock demon offspring that were created by his union with the mountains themselves. So because of their half-mountain, half-demon origins, they are virtually indestructible. just as he is. Lastly, it's said he will kill any human with a fever or head disease. Even something as small as a headache could make you a target to his evil doings. So unless you're looking to get ripped apart by a giant rock man and his army of rock babies, just keep away from anything that could summon him your way. Coming in at number 6, Abbadon. According to the Old Testament, Abbadon generally refers to a place of ruin or destruction. However, in the New Testament, it seems to have taken on a slightly different and even more frightening personification. The demon Abbadon, whose name, as we've covered, translates to the Destroyer, is just as terrible as you might imagine. Generally depicted as a frightening winged creature, Abbadon is said to rule over a bottomless pit filled with an army of locusts who can torment anyone at his command. I mean, doesn't that just sound like a horrifying capability? What's interesting about this demon is that there is actually some debate around who Abbadon truly sides with. Some say he's an antichrist, a follower of Satan, or maybe even Satan himself because of his overall cruelties. But in some literature, he is seen more as a king sent from God, as he specifically targeted his army of locusts on those who did not have the symbol of God across their forehead. However, that being said, no matter if he is an angel or a demon, I would much rather not get anywhere near him. Coming in at number 5 is Rangda. According to Balinese mythology, Rangda is one of the most feared demons out there. For starters, she is known as the evil demon queen of the Layaks, which, if you aren't familiar with, are essentially ghost-like figures from Bali who during the day can appear as human to blend in, but at night show their true form, breaking free from their human bindings in search for pregnant women and suck their blood. Really, it's very charming. Rangda herself is said to be just as bloodthirsty as her followers, but her appetite is even darker. She quite literally thirsts for her revenge on the human race in the form of eating and devouring unsuspecting little ones in the night. Usually depicted as a grotesque old woman in the nude with large fangs, unkempt hair, and a giant tongue, it doesn't take much for this demon to come down and ruin your life. So if I were you, I would stay away from mentioning her name to Alexa, cause you just never know what could bring her your way. Next up at number 4 is Manah. This demon comes from the Iranian religion of Zoroastrianism and is quite possibly the most manipulative one out there. Said to be the demon of sensual desire, Manah is believed to be the inherent cause of evil intent, evil thinking, and evil actions. So essentially, if you've ever done a bad thing or had a bad thought, apparently that was on this guy. But what makes him incredibly terrifying is not only his capability to manipulate the minds of humans and trick them into performing evil acts, he also possesses the ability to somehow use people's good deeds to perform evil, meaning even a good deed done on Earth could be manipulated by Manah and have terrible consequences you don't even know about. So I guess that means you are never truly safe from his wrath. Often described as being the true son of Satan himself, Manah is regarded as the most violent demon to ever be born into the depths of hell, whose only true desire is to destroy everything and everyone in his path. So for very obvious reasons, stay as far away from this demon as you can. Next up at number 3, Dantalion. Said to be the commander of 36 legions of spirits, Dantalion is a terrifying demon with the power to literally ruin your life. Eerily described as having the form of a man with many countenances, meaning many faces, it's said he possessed all men and women's faces. Now, whether that means he can shape-shift his face into whatever he pleases, or whether that means he has a ton of different faces on his person at all times is a little foggy, but either of those options sound horrifying, so it's a lose-lose no matter what. Believe it or not, that's not even the worst part. It's said that Dantalion's greatest power is his ability to control your mind, as according to writings, he knoweth ye thoughts of all men and women and can change them at his will. So if you somehow make your way into his radar, he could literally control your mind, and from there, who knows what he could make you do. Strangely, it's also said he can cause love, which may not sound as evil as his other abilities, but he's literally manipulating his victims' minds and forcing them into into a life together, taking away any semblance of free will, which to me is one of the most terrifying things I can think of. Coming in at number 2, Asmodeus. Considered by some to be the worst of the demons, Asmodeus, also referred to as the Prince of Hell, is often depicted as a demon of lust and wrath who will not hesitate to kill anything in his path. Unless, that is, you are familiar with his oddly specific Achilles heel, which of course I'm going to tell you about, even though you should still not mess around with demons. So as the story goes in the book of Tobit, there is a young woman named Sarah who very much wants to be married. Sarah finds a man, they get engaged, then get married, but right before the moment they are about to consummate the marriage, Asmodeus shows up and slays her beloved. Now, one time would be bad enough, but for sweet Sarah, who just wants a husband, Asmodeus kills her next 7 husbands in the exact same way. But on the 8th try, she ends up marrying a man named Tobias, who shares with Sarah what the archangel Raphael told him, Asmodeus's weakness. So on their wedding night, as expected, the evil killer demon arrives ready to slay her 8th husband. But this time, Tobias tosses a fish's heart and liver onto some coals, causing a giant waft of smoke that apparently makes Asmodeus scamper off. Now, even knowing that knowledge, I don't typically have fish heart and liver on hand, let alone can I set them on a bed of hot coals, so I would still very much be in great danger if this demon ever paid me a visit. And last up in our number 1 spot today is Moloch. Since the medieval days, the bull-headed minotaur demon Moloch has been a widely feared entity that anyone with their head screwed on straight would want nothing to do with. That being said, depending on who you asked or at what point of history you're studying, some writings depicted him as a deity. To the Canaanites, for example, it's been suggested that they offered up their young as a sacrifice to Moloch, who they considered a god. However, as the world shifted and changed, the sentiment surrounding what some now call the cult of Moloch swiftly shifted, and just like any cult to the outside world, the leader was not what you would call a cool guy. In the book of Leviticus, as well as many other religious texts, he is not spoken of highly. In fact, it's mentioned that anyone who offered to give up their offspring to him would be stoned to death for their sins. To be fair, he is a demon that feasts on the flesh of little ones, so I mean, that kind of checks out for me. And if people really were throwing their own flesh and blood into pits of fire in order to please what they believe to be their god, let's just call it a fair consequence for their insane actions. So with all that in mind, just do yourself a favor and leave this demon alone, or the repercussions could literally be deadly. Well, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments of any other terrifying demons you know of, and I'll see you next time.